Alright, so per the big news today in the Resident Evil community, which a lot of people on Twitter are talking about, per developer Briin, Capcom has contacted them to cancel their fan-made projects of the RE-Remake for Resident Evil 1 and the Veronica remake that they were commissioning. Unfortunately, it is a dark day in fan recreations when Capcom has been traditionally lenient according to Biohazard Declassified. And upon further inspection, it seems that this developer, they had Ko-fi links and PayPal links to donating for the project in case fans wanted to support these remakes that were coming out. Now, if you want my honest opinion, I think that having the Ko-fi link and the PayPal link was a big no-no, because usually non-profit sort of projects that relate to a previously established intellectual property, they usually get made, or they usually have less chance of being DMCA versus ones where developers are trying to make a profit off of the previously established IP. You can't do that, you see, because there's laws, there's rules in place. If you're making money off of someone else's work, then they are liable to copyright cease and desist and take that project down, because ultimately at the end of the day, no matter how many people say fuck Capcom or fuck this or fuck that and that they were assholes, Capcom owns Resident Evil. Resident Evil is their intellectual property, it's their baby, they own it, they have to say, they are the publisher. There's nothing much people can do there. If you're making money off the publisher, if you're making cash off of them with your fan-made projects, then there's a higher chance of that being DMCA'd and taken down. It is what it is. They're gonna cease and desist no matter what if they find out you're making a crumb off of that project. Now, we've seen in the past with Nintendo, there's been fan recreations that have been taken down, and I honestly do agree that they go over the line, they go extreme with situations like that, but for this one, it makes sense. Briin had it coming no matter which way you look at it. And the other harsh truth in the building is that while there is discourse over the situation, there are streamers and Resident Evil content creators who tend to push for these fan mods and fan projects all the time without really looking at the quality aspects of them. Sometimes they are a work in progress, sometimes they don't have the best hit detection from what I see, because you know, some of these projects you could be shooting a zombie like 9 times and the bullets will not register. There is those bad faith content creators out there for Resident Evil that will play these games. They will say, hey, fuck Capcom, fuck you, until you actually decide to do this project yourselves for a remake of this magnitude. Now, we don't know if Capcom is going to do a Veronica remake themselves. The ideal sort of mindset they had was a big maybe. Maybe we'll touch upon this project. Maybe we'll do something like that when the financial backing and the popularity is there. They said it's a big maybe. Now, I see why they're doing Resident Evil 4 first. Resident Evil 4 is a highly popular game. It was the game that basically shot Resident Evil as a franchise into the stratosphere. It was so popular, it was so innovative that it was lightning in a bottle. The lightning in a bottle essentially was like, okay, now we have this revolutionary over-the-shoulder camera angle. Every developer and their mom who did the third-person shooter was the one helming like that sort of camera style, because RE4 sort of reinvented the wheel there. Now, what people have to realize is, you know what I mean, whatever Capcom decides to do with remakes in the future, that's of their own volition. At the same time, I would basically be like, look, what's going to happen is going to happen in the future, no matter what they choose. As long as the games are entertaining and they have value and merit and they are quality games, then they can go down the line, forward or backward. It really doesn't matter. The thing is though, like I said, these creators, these RE creators will play these mods and they will say fuck you Capcom until you actually do it. And they trick themselves and they lie and they tell themselves, hey, this is actually good, that I'm not blowing a zombie's head off with a shotgun, you know what I mean? Or I'm playing the third person mod for RE8 or whatever, you know what I mean? I'm playing this and it's a little bit more janky than Capcom's actual attempt. I saw people do this with Virgil from Devil May Cry 5, where the previously established mod was actually pretty janky, pretty unfinished, but the cornerstone, the blueprint was there. And then when Capcom made Virgil playable, they made him intricate, they made him interesting, they made him fleshed out as opposed to the mod. So while I do commend modders for trying their best, I really do, the thing with this is that the mod will probably not be as superior as a AAA studio developing and putting money and time and effort into helming the project. That is essentially what it boils down to. The mentality, the idea, the purest mindsets, where it is like, I will settle for less even if this is really like just absolutely abhorrent and janky. I will settle for less because I want to show and demonstrate to the company that what they need to do, what is in my personal interest, is there in this sort of fan project. And I know this drums up conversation. I know this drums up the idea that will Capcom do a Code Veronica remake, and will they remake Resident Evil 1? Basically, the only answer to that is only time will tell. Honestly, if they do RE5 first, I'm fine with it because, once again, I'm an RE fan. I don't get mad at the notion that a game comes first or last. I get pleasantly surprised and intrigued at the idea that this game could be readily changed from the original incarnation. And that's good because, once again, reimaginings, they are this neat concept that it's not going to be just like the original. They're going to do some creative liberties here or there to make an entirely different experience. And honestly, there's room for that. There's room for one-on-one remakes or one-for-one remakes, and there's room for the remake where they reimagine the whole game and they decide to do something ambitious and make it readily different. So if they turn Resident Evil 5 into a horror game, I'd be all for that, and I'd be all for fixing RE0 because I don't initially like RE0. I hate that game a lot. I thought it was fundamentally broken with the lack of an item box, so why not make a reimagining where they make implementations from the original RE0 that was actually pretty good? I would like that, you know. The idea of maybe Billy or Rebecca dying and you have like one more character, and if that secondary character dies, then that's game over, but you could carry through the whole game with just one player character. Why not bring that back? Why not bring that back into fruition? And I'm not like blasting all RE content creators, you know what I mean? You know, we are all in the same stratosphere, we are all in the same space, etc. But once again, just think twice when you're playing that sort of fan remake and your bullets aren't hitting nobody and you're like, oh man, this is great, screw Capcom. This is like, you know, there's that false positivity there. You're lying to yourself. Like, you know, it's fine to say, hey man, this needs a little bit more time in the oven before I say anything, or this needs a little bit more time to cook in terms of a fan remake, because once again, it doesn't have that same mold of a bigger studio. But you know, people try their best, and the best is what counts when they create more revisions of that game going down the line. And I will also say that, you know, if developers, indie developers who make these fan projects for Resident Evil, if you want it to be played or experienced in some capacity, then maybe the idea is to not announce it publicly and make it non-profit, and before you do, like, make sure the game is finished. So by the time Capcom does like a C&D, you can already be like, hey, I leaked this out to the internet, no problem. Now people can play it. It's finished. It's halfway done. There you go. I tuned out the bells and whistles, everything. When you announce something and it gets traction, it puts it in the eyes of the public. So once again, it piles on more and more and more throughout social media. And once that tension and traction generates, then what happens is it's going to put eyes on it, and companies are going to be looking for excuses to take down your projects. I want to re-clarify earlier, like, Nintendo was taking down like non-profits or remasters, but you know, remastering Mario 64 or whatever, I expected that to happen, but at least the project was like done before the cease and desist came in like a wrecking ball. You know, just keep that in mind. When you put more eyes on something and the company feels like, hey, this is violating copyright, I'm taking this down, at least make sure that joint is half done instead of half baked. Otherwise, I'm gonna get posts like this where it's like, people just like, oh man, I just laugh at the RE community sometimes. It's pretty funny, where they have all this energy, but I think everyone's gonna pipe down like a baby having a pacifier if they decide to make Veronica remake, because that's what you've been asking for since the beginning. It applies to your demand. Supply and demand, as I say, is the most notorious thing in gaming, along with gaming being a selfish hobby. So, you know, when Capcom decides to do it, I think everyone will be less angry and you'll just get the game and everything will be peachy king after that. It's like patching up a dam or something, or patching up like a geyser of water in the middle of the street. It's no big deal, it's no problem. So anyway, I'm Renegade Operative, I'm signing out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This was a Resident Evil news update talking about the idea of Briin and the remake being canceled, but putting the Ko-fi links and monetary support and all that. You could donate here, wink wink. That's a huge no-no when you get monetary support off a copyright material, you know what I mean? You gotta think smarter sometimes. That's it, you know what I mean? Best of luck to the team. Hopefully they pull a daymare where they actually went to Capcom, they got some advice. I don't think these guys are going to Capcom, but who knows, maybe they will. They got some advice, they made their own horror IP, and you have daymare from Invader when they got their Resident Evil 2 Reborn project pulled. They managed to make their own IP with the assets and everything in mind, and they created an indie game, and that went pretty good for them in order to warrant a sequel at least. So maybe they can make a comeback like that. You never know. Always make your original intellectual property, therefore you won't be getting DMCA'd and taken down and cease and desisted or whatever. Wait. Before I go, I want people to be conscious of one more thing before aiding the developers in this entire crisis and sort of trying to make them feel better, make them feel good, etc. blah blah blah. I want you to read this post very clearly from Biohazard Declassified, and they said, these dudes booted me from their Discord because I asked why they were receiving donations for an IP they don't own. You always have a right of reply, which is true. Stop playing a victim and own up to taking donations. That's why it was canceled. So I assume their giant blog post is basically, I blame Capcom for the reason why they are taking down our project, and therefore it's all hellfire and brimstone, and we hate this and we hate that, this, that, and the third. You know, the occasional doom scrolling, doom posting that you would get from a project that a couple of people worked on where it got canceled because of the cease and desist. I don't think they know how this works. Again, when you take donations for someone else's IP, they are liable to take you down. I'm not sure if the developers are, how can I say this in the nicest way, intelligent upstairs. You know, that wasn't too nice, but god damn it, I tried my best. Yeah, so it just seems like they are trying to shift the blame and not realize that they created this self-inflicted wound, and if that's the case, well, I guess it's sort of like getting cut by your own hubris. You gotta learn how this stuff works in the future, so mistakes, time, effort, and resources could be, you know, managed right into a proper IP that will release that's your own baby, as opposed to trying to say, hey, we have Resident Evil, we can do what the fuck we want with it, when you can't. No! I don't know how many times I have to say it. It does not work like that, but I'm sure the rational-minded people will understand where I'm getting at with this. It's just funny how their Discord response is complete disarray and, you know, raising up pitchforks against Capcom, which I assume is the case because it's got to be some sour grapes somewhere. There's got to be some ill will somewhere in their response. And if they are indeed booting people and banning people from the Discord just because simply they don't understand how copyright law works, then these people are unsalvageable. You know what I mean? It's just the nature of the business. So this time I'm really gone. Santa still over there clapping Miss Claus's cheek. Stop it, Santa, stop it. I'm out of here for real. See you people, and be careful out there in the snow. Big blizzards, big snow, ice. Be safe and be good people. Later.